Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. Late December in Florida. About the only trees I really work a lot right now are Ficus microcarpa. I still have a couple projects I could do this winter, but my last few videos have been on Ficus and kind of don't want to keep doing the same video over and over. This is a Laurel Oak. I'll go ahead and give you guys a look all the way around here. I got this guy in February of 2020. At one point, there was a deadwood piece coming up this way that I was actually considering trying to limestone for it up or make it some kind of a feature. And then at some point, I actually had viewers here on YouTube vote whether I should take it off or not, and everybody agreed I should take it off. So I just went ahead and took it off. But being that it's wintertime, sometimes these oak trees like this, a little further north, this thing would probably be bare. You can see this one. I'm going to do my other one here in a minute. You can see this one's still actually really green, but kind of bare. And there's even a bunch of leaves on here that are like this, just kind of half brown, but not really falling off yet. I know when I lived in Virginia, I didn't really have the interest in trees that I do now. I did have a little interest in trees, just not really for the hobby and not as detailed as I am now. And I do remember some red oaks and white oaks that would, actually I had some in my yard where some would retain their leaves all winter and some of them wouldn't. But since it is that time of year, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of help it finish defoliating. And since most of these leaves are out here at the end too, and kind of give it just a good little trim up, in that just kind of taking the leaves off like that for most of them. I will, as I go ahead and take out, there's some branches that are kind of poking right up, and then some coming straight down. Take out some rule breaking branches as I go and everything too, just kind of using this as an opportunity while it's bare to get some work done on it. The idea here of the Laurel Oak, and this is kind of what I'm doing with the other one too, and I'm not really sure what kind of oak that one is, but for me, they get that one good flush of leaves early spring, and then around May or June, kind of go in and partially defoliate, and then the leaves do come back quite a bit smaller. But right now, while I can get it bare, I can get a real good look at it and just kind of see up here, some of this is getting just a little bit too busy. I did notice that it's got some decent movement kind of heading this way, and being that I feel like this is just not a good front for it. I got back branches poking right out at you, and I've always treated the other side as being the front. So I do want to keep this as the front, and I feel like maybe I could direct that maybe a little more up this way with some clip and grow. I think I've achieved some decent ramification compared to how it was, just 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. So I think it's looking pretty good and working out fairly well for me. I'll start off by pulling some weeds, and then, like I said, as I go, just trying to take most of these leaves off, and then just getting some of the rule breaking branches of where, the ones that are sticking straight up, straight down, crossing branches, things like that, and then try to take one last look at it once I kind of get the winter silhouette here going. Alright, and that is going to just about do it for the day. With the camera off, I kind of went in and got some twiggy growth here and there. I did actually, as I kind of looked at it, found a few more branches that just have to go. I say branches, these are like little twigs. This branch here is also where this back branch comes out. Back branch comes out way down here. I've always thought about maybe I could get down to only one of these. In other words, take the top section of that off or take that bottom section off. But then I always just kind of talk myself into keeping both of them. And take this one back just a little further than I had it. And I think that'll just about do it. Like I said, I can do one of those sometimes. Even now as I'm looking at it, I can see that I'm going to want to do it one day, but not today. And I'm going to go ahead and run the other guy in here. Alright, and then we got this big guy here, quite a bit larger than the other one. Doesn't fit on my small turntable. My large turntable is just too cheap. I need to get something better. I try to keep this introduction a little bit shorter. I'm going to do the same thing to it. This was sold just, with the tag oak on it, and I just kind of assumed that it looked so much similar to that other tree of mine that it was Laurel Oak too. Once I got it home and looked at it, sometimes I think the leaves look a little more like a live oak, and sometimes they do kind of look like the Laurel Oak there. And then I asked some of my more knowledgeable groups that I belong to and everything, and turns out that oak trees are kind of slutty, and I guess they crossbreed quite a bit. And so maybe I'm thinking it's some kind of a Laurel Oak slash live oak. It was even suggested maybe water oak. I did get it on clearance. I got it last spring actually. I'm going to guess that they went to go give it a spring repot, and something up this way had rot, termite damage, who knows what it could have been, some kind of damage in there. So they cut it off and basically, left this lower branch here. It is actually 2 branches, but left the lower branch there, put it up on the clearance rack. I picked it up as a little project tree. I think it'll be fun to work on for a bit. If not, just to watch grow. These things seem to grow fairly well in my climate here without a whole lot of babysitting and work to it. Just one day I'm going to have to carve that on down, but for right now you can even see, you guys might not be able to see, but there's a little bit of a live line here where you can see that it's still drawn on that. I'd like to be able to see if I can keep the entire Nabari, and then as this part here just kind of decides what's going to rot away and what's going to kind of give way to new growth, I can carve it and then worry about shaping something. I would anticipate this one to be quite a bit larger of a tree one day than that other one that I had in there. And take out some of these longer crossing branches I see first before I start just defoliating. And of course, just like on the other one, I should have started with pulling these weeds out. Alright, and I was working along there and I just couldn't help but to notice that this trunk on this side is a lot thicker than this one over here. And this one, first off, it does have this, which is almost going to be either become an apex of its own, or I'm going to have to cut it off. And then this one kind of has 2 competing apexes here, and it's looming over this side a little bit. I chopped it here. I remember it was like I was going to try to do that to kind of slow this side down a little bit, let that side catch up some. And I think maybe should have went a little further, but at the same time I can see why I didn't. And so instead of cutting the bigger part there off, I'm going to cut the smaller part off. It actually has gotten taller than the other side too. Just kind of going to simplify that whole thing a little bit. Just almost too big for that size of knob cutter or of concave cutter. That's a pretty good cut there. And that's at a spot that'll be completely covered up by foliage anyhow. And then after I do that, I just kind of see what I'm cutting everything else down to, and even on this other side. I didn't want to cut anything back way too much, but at the same time, I do want to keep things in balance as we go here. Alright, and just kind of found a couple of other things here. This branch is growing right on top of this one. This one is one of the shoots that kind of went straight up, and then it's in this one. I'd almost go ahead and just cut this off because of its placement with some of these other ones, but there's a little scar right under it. I'm not even sure what that scar is from. I guess maybe some previous chop, like a long time ago. But I'm going to go ahead and take this part off so that can continue growing that out to heal that. And then on this one here, just a little bit too much of a cluster going on right there. These two are coming out together, and one of them's coming out right laterally, and the other one was kind of going straight up there. So take that one off. And then there are basically two branches coming out of the same spot here, and I'm going to take one of those off. Alright, and I think that'll just about do it. Couple more, plenty of imperfections that I could continue to take out, but I do realize I want to try to keep that growth as much as possible. Probably should have done this on camera too, but I did notice there's a big crack running right down there. There's another one right over here, and I saw some of this bark was getting ready to come off, and I just started kind of picking at it. Found this big soft spot there, and I'll give you guys a better look. And just found that big soft spot, and that's pretty much just where everything kind of came out. I did use my knife a little, but all the bark just kind of peeled off with my fingers, and even there now a little more is going on. I was kind of working it, just seeing what would peel off easily and what wouldn't. And this whole area here just came right on off, and then again, like I said, that soft spot there, picked that out a little with a knife. All that bark came off really easily there. Closer I come over here, the more tight it is to the heartwood there, or inner wood if you will. And then out here, just kind of coming off. There is another, well actually if I could show you guys where I think this live line is going to come right there. I think that's where it's going to try to wrap itself up into the dead wood up from there. And then on this side, it appears like it's right here, and there's another little piece of the crack right there, which then leads right up into that again. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that little crack in there, where all that bark is kind of separating a little bit, going up that way. But there's also that bulge of new growth coming down that way, so just have to hope for the best.